Product knowledge is one important factor investors should always look out for before investing in real estate, because the reason you're investing into that particular property determines what property you would buy. So let's say you're making an investment for the purpose of short term or long term, or for a commercial purpose or for a residential purpose, it will always affect what kind of property you should buy. So before you invest into any property, it is important that you have this at the back of your mind, the reason you want to invest into that property. So product knowledge is very important as an investor before investing into a property. In today's episode of TPL series, we'll be looking deeply into product knowledge. Now, you can agree with me that product knowledge is far beyond the location of the property, the cost of the property, and the features surrounding the property. Today, we'll be discussing deeply into product knowledge. And I have with me here an amazing real estate consultant, Gerald. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's
Uh, I'm excited to have you on today's
same here.
show.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you for
Pleasure is mine.
joining.
Thank you.
All right, sir. So, like I said, we'll be discussing product knowledge. Now, when we talk about product knowledge, most persons always think it's just about the cost of the property or the location of the property. So, I want us to discuss deeply, so they can really understand what product knowledge is all about. So, for the sake of those who don't know, please, what is product knowledge?
All right. So, product knowledge already is self-explanatory. It's in the name. Product knowledge can be defined as the knowledge you gathered about a particular product. As a lady, when you want to get skincare products, you have to make research about your product. You go out
That's
to
true.
check the information, the ingredient, the thing concerning that product. So that's how it is for product knowledge in land. You go out to find out the details concerning that particular property, the location, the development, the things around that particular property. These are the things that will help you in your decision making on the property to get and where to get from. So basically, product knowledge is all the knowledge, all the researches, all the information you need to get about a particular product before purchase.
So, what you're saying is that product knowledge has to do with the information you gather
Yes.
about this particular property before you invest. Product knowledge is very vast.
Yes,
It's
it's
very,
very
very
vast.
vast.
It's very
So there's an
vast.
aspect to it that I want us to look out for, because when we talk about product knowledge, like I said earlier, people always think it's all about the cost of the property or the location. But there's this aspect to it that I want us to consider. Most persons, when they want to invest in a property, they don't consider what they want to use that property for, and it's always influenced the particular property you would buy. So let's say you're buying a property for short-term investment, for long-term investments, for commercial purpose, for residential purpose. A lot of persons don't consider it. They just hear that, oh, this property is selling for 2 million naira, and because it sounds very affordable, they decide to buy it. And at the end of the day, they see that, oh, this property is not actually meeting their requirements, it's not meeting their need for investing into that property. So I want us to, explain, when we talk about short-term investment, what do we mean? When we talk about long-term investment, what do we mean? When we talk about properties for buy and build, what do we mean? So let's know the differences between these three properties.
All right. So normally, basically, purpose of investment is always important. If you're getting a property, your purpose for investing in that property is your key decision maker. Why you want to get the property, the reason you want to get it, what you want to use it for in the nearest future. It helps in the decision. If you want to use it for a short-term investment, land banking, buy and build, farming, whatever purpose you want to use it for, it affects your decision and the property you want to get. So basically, anything that has to do with decision making concerning the property or property you want to buy, whether the person wants to buy and sell in the next 6 months, the is a factor you have to consider when getting a
When buying a
property. Yes,
property.
exactly.
So when we talk about um properties for short-term investments, what do we mean?
Okay, so if someone wants to get the property for a short period of time, it's like maybe the person wants to sell the property in the next 6 months. They call it flipping. One or do property flipping, you get the property, you flip it in the next 6 months, you get the income, you buy another one. So basically, what
Okay.
you do is to get a property for land flipping, you have to look for a very, very suitable property in a very suitable location.
Okay.
Bear it in mind that if you want to do property flipping for a short period of time, you have to find properties in locations that are very much developed. For example, you have to get a land at GRA if you want to flip a property like that. You get like a certain amount of property in GRA, you sell it, then you get another one, you sell it, you keep getting your income like that. So for short-term investment, your factors that affect your decision making includes development, location, um, government amenities that surround the area. So these are the factors that will guarantee you your return on investment by the time you want to sell.
Okay, that's very good. What about properties for long-term investment?
Properties for long-term investments, like the name implies, we call them land banking. The
Okay.
properties you buy and you allow them to appreciate in a very period of time. Give it 3 5 years, 10 years, 15 years at most, even if you
Okay.
want to. So that's these are the ones they call land banking. You can leave it for as much as you want for the property to appreciate.
Appreciate about
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Okay, what about properties for we'll talk about buy and build properties. What do you mean?
Some persons call it instant build. Like you get a property today, you move into the area. The area is already is a living condition area. Like people are already living there. It might not be as developed as the main city, but it is developed. So persons, you just get a property there. You go, you start a foundation, you start building. Then by the time you're done building, you can now move into your own apartment. You're now your own landlord. These are the reasons why real estate consultants are important. You have to look for a consultant, someone that knows these things, someone that will be able to guide you in the locations and all these factors that affect your property. And then you now, with your purpose of investment, explaining it properly to the person you're buying from your consultant, so that the person will be able to guide you on the right property to get and at the right place to get it.
Okay. So what you're saying in essence is that um properties for short-term investment are properties that should be bought in developed areas. I mean, so you can easily resell and easily get a good return on
For the
investment.
purpose of resale, yes.
Okay, the properties for long-term investments are properties that you have to keep over a longer period of time before you can resell.
The thing there is now, some persons buy properties in developed area and still leave it for a long period of time.
Okay,
So people can use properties for buy and build for long
for
term
long-term
investment.
investment.
Yes, so it's by choice. Excuse me. Someone might get a property at GRA and decide to leave it for the next 5 years. It's land banking, but it's by choice. So you get land banking does not necessarily mean the person has to, except the one that has not that's still in an undeveloped area, an underdeveloped area. So the person can decide to leave that one to appreciate. Same thing applies to a developed area. Someone can get a property in the heart of GRA and let it be there for 5 years. So that by the time the person, let's say the person bought it for 50 million, by the time the person wants to resell, it might have hit 100 million or something. You understand? So for long-term investment, it's still by choice. But then for land banking, those are properties you allow them to grow in the span of 5 years to ten
Okay, so
years.
so what you're saying is that properties for properties for short-term investment can also be used for land banking,
Yes,
but
exactly.
properties for land banking cannot
Be
be
used for
used for
short-term
short-term
investment.
investment.
Correct.
Now, let's look at buy and build properties and properties for short-term investment. They can also interchange, right?
Yes,
That
yes,
is properties for buy and build. You can also buy a property in a fully developed area and decide to still keep it
yes.
over a short period of time and then still
So,
resell.
yes.
That's beautiful. So, what are those? How does the purpose of investment affect the particular property to buy? Because a lot of persons, like I said earlier, a lot of investors just purchase a property because of the price alone, or just because of the location alone. So let's say they want to use this property for commercial purpose, or they want to use the property for residential purpose. They don't care, just because the price looks enticing. They end up buying it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't meet,
Their
it doesn't
targets.
satisfy them.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
they end up buying a property in the location that doesn't suit what they want to use that property for. So, how does the purpose of investment affect what type of property to buy?
Okay, so the purpose of investment affects your property to buy because you can't say you want to get a property that you want to sell the next 6 months, and then you're going to get the land banking property that's not located in a developed area.
Exactly.
You get so someone that wants to resell a property in the next 6 months should be willing to spend that amount of money to get a property that will yield good profit in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You can't because they are selling a property for 2 million at a certain location that's not developed, you now purchase that property with the hope that that particular property will still give you the
A good
same
return on
return that the
investment
property. Yes, exactly.
within the short, not like it
Within
won't
that
give you
short
a good return on
within that short
investment,
period
but
of
within a
time,
short period
yes.
of
So
time.
you can use a land banking property for short term investments. You get, like you said, you can use a short term investment property for land banking, but then you can use a land banking property for
For
short term
short term
investment. So your
investment.
purpose of buying that property is very important, so that you not turn it into a burden. That property you bought are supposed to be a blessing for you has turned to a burden. So your purpose of buying is very important, so that it can help you select where you're buying, and the things surrounding the areas like development. Let's say you want to buy a property for farming. There are specific areas, like some companies, they have specific areas they have lands available for farming. So they won't give you their properties that are in the major cities for such purpose. So therefore, now they will take you to their properties that have been positioned properly for that particular investment purpose. You want to do for livestock farming, normal farming, you know, all those things. They have lands already accustomed for that in very nice areas. So yes, your purpose of investment affects your choice of property.
Okay, so like you said earlier, that it is always important that you listen to your consultant,
Yes,
because your
yes.
consultant will be able to explain these things to you. Some investors are very funny. They'll meet you as a consultant that they want to purchase a property for a certain reason, and then when you try to explain to them that your budget does not suit
Yes.
this particular property you want to buy, but just because the cost of that property looks very enticing, they end up buying it, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't satisfy
Then,
the reason they bought that property. Now, I came across a post sometime last week on Facebook, and this person was saying that most time we tell people to invest in real estate. They should put their money into real estate because to give them a good return on investment, and they can always liquidate the money you don't need to keep your money in the bank and all of that. And then when you want to resell that property, you can't find a buyer, or you don't get as much profit as you deserve. So for investors who are buying properties for the sake of reselling, what are those factors they should always look out for before purchasing a property, so they don't have these issues
yeah.
of
So
buying a property and not being able to
to resell,
resell?
first and foremost, your if your purpose of buying a property is to resell, that's, for example, you're trying to do a short term investment, no matter how short it might be. Um, you have to buy a property that is located in a very developed area, or a property that has very strong possibilities or chances of developing in the next 5 months or so. Let's say, for instance, they've awarded a road in that particular property area. Maybe a government road has been awarded to establish an internal road. Anything development around that area would help to increase your return on investment for whenever you want to resell. So let's say the client got a property and they want to sell in like 2 years' time. You have to check the location where you're buying it from. You have to be certain that in the next 1 year, if you give it 1 year, something tangible should have been done in that particular
Happen
area
there,
to
yeah.
increase the chances of that property having a good return on investment. So if there's no development, no government, no church, nothing around that area, that property is going to remain the same and it's not going to yield any profit. So if you want to buy a property for the purpose of resale, you have to get a property in a good area. If it means you reviewing your budget, then you have to review your budget so that you can get what you want, to yield you the profit you're looking forward to get at the end of your investment period.
Okay, so what you're saying in essence is that if you're buying a property for the sake of reselling, you should always consider the possibility of that property appreciating in value
Yes,
over a short period of time. Consider the infrastructures around there, government development coming there. If the government is doing anything tangible around such areas, because this is beginning to kill the drive in people to invest
yes.
in real estate, because they feel like, oh, the whole real estate thing does not work, not
Okay,
knowing that
but
it is their own fault. You're investing in a property that you would not be able to liquidate within a period you want to liquidate that property, because you purchase in an area where people are not
I'm
looking
not
towards to
yes, yes.
going. Thank you very much for answering that question. So what are those factors that someone should consider they want to invest in a long-term investment?
If you're looking to invest in a property for a long-term investment, let's say you want to do land bank, because in as much as people go out to buy properties for land bank, people still buy the wrong properties for land bank.
Mm.
You're saying you want to get the property for land banking. You're still looking forward to development, getting to that area.
That is very
A lot of
true.
persons are falling victim of buying properties somewhere that the next 13 years
Nothing is
is going to be in
happening
the same,
there.
yes, it's the same
Yes.
condition for the next 13 years. So what you do, you look out for, like I said before, you look out for property the features that are going to bring more development. If there's no government approved projects or schools or church brings development. There are churches, government approved
Projects.
contracts,
Yeah.
road, access road. Those things are the things that will guarantee that your property will yield more profit for you by the end of the time you want to sell. So you look out for those things: schools, construction, road, and churches. So these are the things that are most likely to bring development in any area you're purchasing the property for, be it for land banking or for short-term service.
Okay, so what you're saying in essence is that even if you're buying a property for the sake of long-term investment, always look out for the future of that
Yes,
property.
yes.
The fact that that property is not developed today does not mean it will not be developed tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
And the
exactly.
fact that it is not developed today does not also mean it will be developed tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
So you
sorry.
should always look out for the possibility of that property um, appreciating in value.
Yes.
Look out for the government approved projects that will be going there in the next couple of years. So
Yes.
if you're still watching till this time, thank you very much for staying with us till this time. Do what to share, do what to like, do what to subscribe, and stay tuned. We'll be going on a short break and we'll be back in a short while. Thank you. Welcome back to TPL series. And if you're just joining us, we are talking about product knowledge, the things every investor should know about a product before they invest in real estate. Now, like we said earlier, the reason you are purchasing a property determines what kind of property you want to buy. And I still have with me here my amazing real estate consultant, Mr. Gerald.
Hello, thank you. Good to be back.
Thank you very much for still being here with me. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. So go down the video and watch from the beginning. There are lots of valuable lessons you'll be learning from today's episode. So, still talking about product knowledge. Now, I want us to talk about commercial properties and residential properties. Now, there's a property we have at Tango Properties selling at Illusion. We call it our uptown layout. Now, this property we say it is strictly commercial. Now I've had a client who said, "Oh, I'm interested in this property," and I went ahead to ask the client the reason he or she wants to buy that property, so I would know if this person is just buying the property because he likes the location, or is buying the property because he wants to use it for commercial purpose or residential purpose. So you don't just buy a property because you like the location, like we already said earlier. You should also know if you want to use that property for commercial purpose or for residential purpose. So when we talk about properties for commercial use and properties for residential use, what do we mean? Like, what are the difference between the both? Also, what are those factors you should consider when buying a property for commercial use and a property for residential use?
All right. So, commercial properties, commercial properties and residential properties are two different types of properties. Properties for commercial purposes are properties you buy strictly for business.
Okay.
Let's say you want to build a filling station, hotel, apartment. Those are commercial properties. Those are commercial purposes. These are the reasons you're buying that property because you want to build one of those commercial purposes. So, for residential, you're buying for yourself. You want to live in for your family and your family. You want to is it that's the property you want to buy for yourself and your family where you guys. So for commercial properties, one of the things to consider when buying a commercial properties is uh, access road. How close is it to the road? Most commercial properties are on the express,
Okay.
literally on the express,
Like the one
like
we
on
have
the
at Eleven.
exactly on the express. If the property is on the express, then it's a commercial property. So you don't call it residential because you're not advised to be living in the metro express road. So for residential purposes, you buy a property that's not so far from the metro road. At least there should be a street that at least that is leading to the property for a residential purpose property. But as long as it's commercial, you can put it at the verge of the road. So yeah, so when buying a commercial property, you should check the access because if you're going to build a property for fuel station, for example, you're buying a land for a purpose of building a fuel station, you have to check where the location. It has to be on the road because people have to see your filling station to come and buy from it. You can't buy a property that is inside the
Inside
street
the
and
street.
say you want to turn it to a filling station. You won't
That's
sell.
very true.
You won't sell.
So
So property
vehicles will not drive
they
into the
can't be
street
coming into
to
the street
buy
exactly, and then
the
it's not they won't allow you to build that kind of facility inside the streets because it's not safe for the people living around there. So therefore, they bring it out to the major road and make it a commercial property. So when you want to buy a commercial property, you check for the access, you check for the conditions of the area as well. So if it's an area that moves markets, then yes, it's a very good area for hotels, filling station, apartments, and so on and so forth. Rentals.
Okay, so are you trying to say that properties for residential purpose has to be just for the individual? Can't you build shortlet apartments? I
You
mean,
can.
or Airbnb apartments in a residential area.
Well, it depends on the company you're buying from.
Okay.
Some companies strictly have commercial properties, commercial plots available for such properties.
Okay.
So they have strictly residential and then they have strictly commercial. So the company you're buying from, they want to tell you, okay, this property is strictly residential, this property is commercial. Because I think every company has commercial plots in their properties as long as they
Okay.
have residential plots. So there's always all these plots are made available at different, even if it's probably in the same area, they are made available at different sectors of that particular area. So there's commercial plots available and then there's residential plots as well.
Oh, which means as an investor, it is advisable that you let your consultant, let the company know
And
what
this
you
is
want
what
to
you're
use a
looking for.
property for
Exactly.
before buying. So you don't end up buying a commercial property for the purpose of residential. The noise around commercial properties, it's not something you can cope with.
Exactly. And
Residential properties are always in areas that are serene,
yes.
places that are very comfortable, places where there are no noises around. But commercial properties are always very busy environments.
And for example, the commercial plots as well have I believe the price difference is in the there's a difference between the commercial plots and then the residential plots. I think the amount
It's
always
always
differs.
different.
Yes, because of the purpose of buying, the amount also differs. So I think that's a factor too to consider when you're buying the property.
Talking about the price that always differs. What about what do you have to say to investors that will tell you, oh, I have 500,000 naira and I want to buy and build property. I've had clients like they'll tell you, I have 500,000 or I have 1 million naira and I want to buy a property in a buy and build environment. What do you have to say to them?
Um, if you have 1 million now, you want to buy a property in Jerry, I have one for you. That's a lie. That person wants to dupe you. There's no property available for 1 million naira in Jerry. You can't find a good
Exactly.
property available for buy and build at the budget of 1 million. Yeah. The person wants to dupe you, carry your money and run. So if you wanna get the property in a buy and build area, somewhere serene, somewhere developed, and you're aware that the area is developed, you know what you have to review your budget. You have to go back to your drawing board and review your budget. You check. You have to make inquiries for what you want to buy before you go ahead and buy it. So you can't come out with a budget of 1 million and say you're looking for a buy and build property in Nigeria. You will never get it.
So does it mean people that have 500,000 naira should not buy a property?
They can't buy properties.
Okay,
People
so
with five
how,
hundred
how, how
thousand,
do they how do they buy a
they can
property?
buy. You can buy a property with 500,000 because you can buy a land banking property for 500,000.
Okay.
Yes, there are
What if
plots.
you don't find land banking properties of 500,000 naira? How do you maximize that your 500,000 naira to still purchase a
I
property?
believe companies do installments.
Okay,
I
exactly.
believe companies do installmental payments. So with 500,000, you can start making deposits. You can deposit that 500 to bring another 500. So as much as the money they give you for the particular plot you're buying, you just keep making deposits and installmental payments till
So
you're
you're
able to
able
acquire your
to.
own land.
No, the funniest thing is that most of these investors would never accept. When you tell them, oh, you cannot buy, you can't see a property of this amount in this area you're looking at, they'll tell
Yes.
you, no, someone told me I can. At the end of the day, they will take their money and run and they'll start painting the real estate industry as a scam.
Yes.
So if you're watching, you cannot get a property in a buy and you cannot get a buy and bid property for 500,000 naira, not even 1 million naira. So if you have 500,000 naira or 1 million naira, we would not still advise you to put the money in the bank because challenges will always come up and
Yes.
you might end up spending that money and would not be able to purchase a property. So what I would advise is that you opt for a payment plan for a land banking property. Let's say you have 500,000 naira, you can see a land banking property of 2 million naira. I can decide to pay 500,000 naira first, pay your next 500 or next 1 million naira until
Yes.
you're
Yes.
done, paying for that property. And this brings me to my last question. In your experience as a real estate consultant, what is that one mistake that investors always make when they don't consider the reason they are buying a property before investing into that property?
Um, I believe the worst mistake investors make is they end up buying the wrong property for the wrong reason. So which includes loss of money and loss of time because the property will just be there wasting because it won't be serving you for what you want to use it for,
Mhm.
and then you lose the money you used to buy the property. It's still your property, yes, but then it's not serving you well. It's
Mhm.
not giving you the return you expected from it to give you. So it becomes a burden instead of being a blessing for you.
Thank you
So
very much. So, if you don't want to lose money, it is important that you know the reason you're purchasing a property before you invest into that property. So, thank you very much for joining us on today's TPL series. I believe you learned a lot of valuable lessons. So, do well to drop a comment, do well to share, do well to like, do well to on your notification bell so that you can always be the first to watch our TPL series. So, thank you very much once again for
thank you.
joining us on
Thank you. The
today's
pleasure is
TPL
mine.
series. See you in our next episode.
Thank you.